Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt and this is Cutting Through the Matrix in May the 1st, 2016. Now, as you know, I'm only putting out short little talks right now because the parts of my throat are all knitting together, and that's why I can't go into yapping and yapping and yapping right away. It'd be rather stupid to do so. And I can't just go and take long distance calls and get stuck on the phone for a few hours either. It's not a rather wise thing to do, but what I'm doing is to fill you in what's been happening, and thank the people out there who've been concerned and written in and so on, emailed, etc., because it gives me something to do as well, as to go through the email, etc. That's okay. Although I keep falling asleep naturally, I'm highly anemic because I lost a lot of blood, and I can be doing things and then just want to go to bed and drop off, which I frequently do right now. So I'm not fighting it. I'm letting the body try and repair itself, which is awfully important because, I was almost a goner at that time. There's no doubt about it. And let itself be known with no pretenses. I wasn't even unconscious during it all. It was rather graphic, and you'll never forget something like that. Really, you can't forget it because you don't know what's going to happen. You really don't think you're going to make it at all. It's so obvious. It's 1 in a million if you make it, and it really pretty well was. So anyway, I want to thank the people, as I say, who have been keeping tabs with me and so on, and it's really helping me along because right now it's going to cost me a fair bit to try and fight what's left of this thing. I wanted to tell you too, it's kind of comical because I've talked over the years many times about the system, you see, and how everything is a corporation tied into another corporation and so on. That's really how the whole system works. And you're trained as a peasant to live with it. Even people who work for the system on a lower level, they're trained as a peasant to think it's all quite natural and that it's a good system, etc. Now, for years, I've given the facts about hospitals from the British system and how you're judged when you get admitted for how much they're going to spend on you. They bring into your age, your standing in society. All these things are brought in. It's eugenics, basically, and how much they're going to spend on you, if anything at all. And I found the same thing happen to me. It was quite interesting being on the receiving end of it because I didn't know who I was, I think. And at one point, you see, they had me on the appropriate medication to kill off this killer. There is a killer if it's not untreated, and they sent in a heavy hitter who reminded me, by the way, that this was a corporation, not a charity. This hospital, and he said, "Do you know how much this is costing us? The treatment I was getting, you see." And he took me off the treatment that is necessary. Really necessary. He took me off it because of the cost factor of it before I was discharged. And he obviously hadn't a clue either that I'd given out countless talks about the Canadian system by using all the government data and broadcasting them over the years. And telling people what was coming, but that we're, again, just the same thing. You have your little, the codes and all the rest of it, and you're weighed, and they bring your age into it. How long have you got to go, possibly? How much are they going to spend on you? What's your standing in society? How much will you earn until you die, etc., etc., that's worth taxes, blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. Are you a good consumer producer, or are you getting old and just consuming? All that kind of stuff that you're not supposed to know. And it was quite funny to actually experience this guy coming in, and I was half out of it. I was half sleeping. Because a hospital's a hard place to get asleep, believe you me, especially in the part where they quarantine you, because I have air conditioners and extraction units going full blast all day, 24 hours a day. This noise, this racket. And but they sent this heavy hitter in, basically, to treat me like some peasant at the end. So you come out of sleep, and here's this character there starting demanding questions. You answer these questions, and he sees you as some old geezer, I suppose, and he says, "I've got to take you off these medications. It's too expensive," he says, and he says, "Although," he says, "I suppose you try and sign yourself into a hospice or something. Maybe they would find a way to get meds for you there." And I thought, who is this character, number one? Number two, why is he going by the first appearance of someone who's been through hell and not finding out who they are to start with, which would be rather helpful, and all this kind of stuff, you see. And I thought I'm getting it firsthand what most folk are finding, you see. Most people. You're getting written off. You're getting told you're getting written off in a certain way. And yet a character like this just hits you with the cost of things and everything else. Like it's your fault you're sick, you see. It's your fault that you're not 24 years old anymore. And you're going to make a big income and contribute lots of taxes for the rest of your life, etc., etc. It's all your fault, you see. And yada, yada, yada. And this is quite something, because I do know that this is the system that's standard for the world. Same with Obamacare. It's the same system worldwide they're bringing in, you see. Everything is, as you well know, everything is global, you see. But that's just the way it is now. Now, the folk who generally work in the hospitals, nursing staff and so on, paramedics are fantastic people. And again, that's their level, you see. But the doctors, of course, are higher pitch. They understand far more of what's going on and what's involved with all the different patients, as I say, with classification into categorization of different patients, etc., life expectancy, yada, 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 economic factors. So that's really what determines. Forget all this propaganda you see, and that's what Jacques Ellul said a long time ago. He says all TV or movie things about hospitals and how fantastic everybody is, and they can't sleep till they find out what's wrong with the patient, or they just use the same script for the cop shows. I can't sleep till they get the bad guy. It's all propaganda, folks. All propaganda. Because everything works. Everything works in politics and economics, you see. And it's worse than ever today, because if you went in and you had something nothing to do with the illness you were in with, you could be a transvestite or someone who's had a sex change, for instance, you'll have a higher category of the kind of money they're going to spend on you than just the average person who has nothing outstanding at all, except he's deadly sick with something, you see. And folk are becoming rather deadly sick with lots of things today, with all the aerial spraying and so on and so on. I was looking up data about this area alone where I am, and even this fungal infection too that tends to infect the lungs is more prevalent now in this particular area. And if you're very healthy, they'll all say, this is your standard textbook thing too. It's almost like a law book to try to clear certain things. But they'll say, well, if you're really healthy, you'll breathe in these spores and you can beat the spores. You say, well, let's be honest. You see, once you get past 40 or 50, you're not as really healthy as you were when you were 20. Let's be honest here. Yeah? Because that's what it's all about. And then they'll say, oh my goodness, you've got this blah, 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 you see. What happens if you don't treat it? Well, depending on the particular strain, it's lethal. That's what it says. And if you don't know these things and you end up in hospital and they start you off on the right medication and take you off you because it's too expensive, then you've just been condemned to death, you see. That's how things really work. That's how things really work, folks. Isn't that something? But again, you watch all this stuff on TV and the propaganda, And it's very sad how we're all tricked and we're made fools of. I say that the nursing staff in the hospitals too, like all corporations, they do most of the work. And yet they're cut to the bone with one trained nurse, with a nursing assistant or something, per trained nurse to look after a stack of patients. Remember, every hospital, every corporation is a profit-making machine. So there's a definite impasse between what the public think, are trained to think that the hospital is there for, versus what it really is there for, you see. And I can't say enough good things about the staff in the hospitals. But the guys above it on the board know perfectly well what their job is. And it was kind of amusing to me as well to see someone being brought in to get me off certain meds because it's too expensive, blaming me for all, and I mean really blaming me, and even talking about hospices. It was quite amusing to watch this technique being used. And of course that kind of nonsense doesn't work on me, but I'm sure it's used on lots and lots of people. But it's rather disgusting. I always find the nasty hitters, I call them nasty hitters, in nature. And by that I mean the guys who take money as bailiffs and they go out there and they'll kick folk or families out on the street for money. And it's all quite legal under this inhumane system. And it's the same characters they'll bring into hospitals to get people off meds because you're too old for that, you know. You should be dying off right now because you're a nobody, you see. That's the attitude, you see, that's pervasive, put out by the same characters. I don't care what qualifications they are, to be a bailiff or to be some kind of doctor. It's the same personality behind it that's sent out to do the dirty work, basically. Same thing. It's so-called compassionate field. Well, unfortunately, it's always been highly lucrative too to those involved in it as well. And you always have this kind of thing happening where you have natural compassion, things that are essential to be done, versus the cost of things, money. And whole nations we're all summed up as part of the big business, you see. I've given many talks on this too. And they use some of these talks at universities. How you're all part of one huge, massive, big business. Whether you know or not, that's how they look upon you. And look upon the income that you're going to produce for them in your lifetime, if you stay fairly healthy, etc. There's nothing humane about the system. And I don't like any system that runs by deception. Now, I know, and of course the big boys know, that as you age, as I say, you don't have to be very old. As you age, you'll find that anything that your family is prone to on a hereditary basis, you're going to be prone to as well. And that can set you up to be prone for, again, fungal infection or whatever it happens to be. It's just the way it is. Trying to stay healthy enough, it really has nothing to do with it, because it's pretty well genetically determined, you see. And genetics and eugenics is that works together in the hospitals too, and in the modern training as well. Modern training. But as I say, if your systems are compromised or have the propensity to be compromised because of genetic backgrounds or whatever, massive allergies in your family, these kind of things, they set you up for these other things hitting you later down the road, you see. And that's inevitable. It's just the way it's going to be. Plus, in this day and age, with all the aerial geoengineering spraying that they're doing, and chem spraying, then more of this going on. You might escape and you might not. But I think really everybody gets their turn eventually when it gets to the kind of level it's getting to today. But as I say too, knowing that there's lots of people out there who will step in and ask a lot of hard questions should anything happen to you, that's a big comfort in itself, believe you me. It really is. Because a lot of dirty things happen in this day and age, as we all know. We all know this. And the saddest thing, I think, about existing today is that everything basically is a cover-up. Every darn thing has a face to cover up when it's done something wrong or done the dirty, etc., etc. And corporations, this is a normal thing to do. They have their danger men that they pull in right away to cover their gluteus maximus, basically, and blame something else for whatever happens to be. That is a system in which we live. That is a system. And I saw this coming a long, long time ago, the whole system. Not because I was using a crystal ball, but because I read all the little reports and everything else that they would publish for themselves for year after year after year. And it is depressing, let's be honest about it. But the time must come when you look at the stuff which is published, and yes, it is depressing, and realize, these guys mean business. They mean business. It's not a hypothetical thing that when they plan a part of a future for you. It's not hypothetical. It is to be used, and they will implement it as effectively as any war technique to be used in warfare. They will use it, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. None at all. And the big problem that governments have had for a long time, before even World War II, to do with eugenics, again, is it's overpopulation of the wrong kind of people. They're still prattling on about that today. There's lots going into universities today who are already convinced the eugenicists before they even get into university. When they look around and see all of you hanging around, and you shouldn't be, you see. These characters exist, and they get into positions of power. And they'll all another thing too is they all live off your money, and they live off your money awfully, awfully well. Great wages, great salaries. They can retire after about 15, 20 a year, full pensions, because they work alongside. It's classified as government or service, etc. Mm-hmm. That's how things really are, yeah. That's how things really, really are. And it's a choice amongst the people who are brainwashed. It's a choice between waking up or staying in slumber, because it's quite pleasant being in slumber for a lot of them. Every minute of the day is catered for by fictional producers and so on, churning stuff out for them to be, to pass the time for them, so they don't have to think for themselves. Thinking can be awfully unpleasant, especially if you add to a little bit of knowledge about something. It can be rather scary. And lots of people do choose today not to think about scary things, because you might be forced to take a stance on something and start demanding things, you see. And that's what it's all about, all this psychological warfare, which is called modern reality. That's what it's about, folks. Now, I should mention, too, about Hamish, because when I got back, it was so sad to see him, so sad. He was trying to open his eyes to see if it was me. He couldn't move either, hadn't moved for a week. And I managed to get everything working again to an extent, his bowels to an extent. I managed to clear up his arthritis problems to an extent as well. And he's still got the tumours, of course, that are sprouting out all over the place. But he's not bad right now as far as being mobile, and I'm kind of happy about it all. And the writing's on the wall, naturally, but At least he's not in pain. He's not just given up either. I think when he saw the paramedics take me away, and he saw the blood all over the place too, that was the end of me. And he just gave up. And really, it's that bond between you and your pets, or you and your family, or you and your best friends, that you live and die for. That's what it is. That's something that hasn't been totally conquered yet. They'd love to take all the natural humanity out of you, you see, and give you poor substitutes for it. Let's get them practical substitutes, eugenical ones, you see. But as long as you're willing to go that extra mile for each other, you're luckily, if you're still ready to do it, you're luckily still ahead of these rotten you-know-whats, because these eugenicists are really, really out there. They're psychopaths, really. They can't look upon things with any compassion because they don't have any compassion. Everything's just practical. Dollars and cents and statistics, you see. That's not humanity. It's got nothing to do with humanity. That has got to do with nothing but horror. Horror, folks. On a local, and a national, and a global scale. Horror. Utter horror. The same characters that sit and plan wars 20 years, 30 years in advance. And who are trained to do so. And who go home to their families at night. And have respectable positions and they're fine upstanding members of society, as it say. Psychopaths. And really, the folk have to throw the psychopaths out. That's it. Very simple. Don't be fooled by them anymore. Because they're living off, generally, they always go into government so-called service, or government agencies, etc., but they live awfully, awfully well. For doing very little, of course. But they can wield an awful lot of power over you. And that's not human. It's not humane. And they work constantly because they have no respect for normal folk. They live in contempt of normal people. Absolute contempt. So don't forget to always take care of yourselves and each other and all the rest of it, because that's all it's stopped or slowed down, this progression towards our extinction. I'm not kidding you not. You all know statistics too that's churned out all the time that the big boys use themselves. And autism climbing. Oh, it's a mystery. It's no mystery. It's not. You know darn well it's no mystery. Never mind all the other diseases that are just skyrocketing. It's no mystery. No mystery whatsoever. And everybody who's licensed in a profession will shut their mouth because they're scared to lose their ticket, you see. And they'll go along with it. That's the beauty of licensing in a system. And I'll tell you too, once in a while it doesn't harm all of us to have at least a little bit of ill health. Because then you experience the decency that's still in humanity. It really is there. Decent people. Not high up the ladder, but decent folk. And doing all they can under the circumstances. People are pretty decent if you leave them alone, you know. And most of them have families, or they're just getting through life and so on. That's so important. So important. That's all there is now. And the whole of society has been under attack for an awful long time. And it's scientifically designed, all working together in different areas at the same time. As you all know, I've gone through all these talks before. And I'm not just basically making this stuff up. I'm using go into the archive section, cuttingthroughmaurice.com, and you can read report after report from all the top universities and all the studies that are constantly being done on us. That's all it's studied is us, you see. And that information is not because folk are curious about you. No, they want to know how to manipulate you, use you, and head you off at the pass in certain ways. That's what it's about. And to use your tax money to study you. Beautiful, isn't it? So anyway, I thank the people who have been trying to stay in touch and who don't lose patience, because, I mean, as I say, I can't get on a phone and start yapping away there when I've got parts of my throat still trying to knit together here. And I'm highly anemic. As I say, I lost a lot of blood, didn't get transfusions or anything. And I just conk out for the need. And I'm telling you, it's a fantastic sleep during the day when you just conk out. Your body just says, that's it, I've had enough for the day, and you go to sleep. It's trying to repair itself, you see. Awfully important. So, as I say, thanks to all those who are watching. And there's people all over the world there that some I've never heard from before. And it's amazing the impact that you can make in your lifetime. It truly is. So anyway, from me, who is still alive and kicking, and Hamish, who's just about doing the same, it's good night, and may your God or your gods go with you.